Senator Schiff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for being here to testify. I think it's very important that we have good, strong, and sound regulation of this whole industry to protect consumers, to make sure that there are clear and understandable rules of the road, that there's some certainty for investors, for consumers, that there are protections in case of bankruptcy or fraud. I'm also deeply concerned, as Senator Benner just alluded to the prospect of high administration officials manipulating digital currencies or their ability to influence enforcement actions, and be very interested in your thoughts about how to address these conflicts, potential and real conflicts of interest, when you have people who are in positions of dominant influence like the president or others issuing, endorsing, sponsoring their own digital currencies, how we can ensure that we either prohibit such actions completely or that we make sure that people who are engaging them are subject to laws against market manipulation and self-dealing. So let me start, if I can, Mr. Benham, good to see you again, by asking you, I know you've spoken directly about the need to maintain public confidence and integrity in these markets. Do you think public officials that have any kind of supervisory or influential role should be permitted to issue their own currencies or endorse their own currencies, or would it be the most basic and fundamental provision that should simply be banned?
Senator, thanks for the question. Short answer is yes, it should be banned. And I'll say, as a former regulator, just 5 or 6 months removed, for 7 years at the commission, I took that responsibility very seriously. The weight of the responsibility as a regulator over markets and ensuring there was no conflict of interest or exposure that me or my family had to the markets I regulated.
And does anyone testifying here today think it's okay, good practice, nothing to see here, for high administration officials who have influence over these markets to be able to issue or promote their own personal stable coins, digital currencies of any kind?
Just to be clear, Senator, I agree that it should be banned, should be prohibited.
And I would go further than the administration officials. I would say ban all those actions from any members of the House or Senate. Anyone disagree with that proposition?
Senator, I know this has been a discussion among policymakers. I just wanted to note that for myself, this is admittedly outside my area of expertise, and I see this as a decision for Congress. I just wanted to say that respectfully, Senator.
Well, I appreciate that, and I hope we will make that very decision, because I think it's vitally important that we regulate this area. I think the current unregulated or regulation by litigation posture we're in is undesirable for everyone. Doesn't protect consumers, doesn't help legitimate actors in the industry, doesn't provide any certainty or ability to plan or predict or invest. At the same time, the most basic protections we might put in place to protect consumers will be undermined if those that can influence the whole market are in business themselves and able to enrich themselves. But let me move on from the problems that have been documented by the first family's involvement in this business. In what other respects, and I open this up to any of our participants, can we help ensure that consumers are protected? Obviously, there have been some catastrophic failures of companies in this space engaged in fraud. What's the best way to protect consumers so that in the event of a catastrophic failure, they're protected?
Maybe I'll start off, but I think the first is acting. I think the Congress needs to act to fill this regulatory gap. This committee is starting that process of doing that. And we're going to have to, as was mentioned, make sure that we have strong, clear lines between the CFTC and the SEC on how you think the jurisdiction should go. But importantly, each agency brings unique customer protections and important market integrity issues that are going to help fix the problems that you're identifying. So I think you're preaching to the choir here. Everybody on this panel wants to fill this gap right now, and it's up to Congress to act quickly.
Senator, I'll add, in December 22, I testified before this committee shortly after FTX failed. And FTX had one entity that was registered with the CFTC. It had a number of entities globally, over 125. And I said to this committee, of the 125 plus entities, about 2 or 3, 2 I think in Asia and 1 here in the US, Ledger X, which was registered and regulated by the CFTC, was viable, well-managed, and had value after that bankruptcy. So after that fantastic bankruptcy, this entity that had regulation, that had supervision, that had oversight, had a future because of regulation. And that's the point that I think is most important for this committee to take away. As much as there's many issues to resolve and discuss and deliberate, regulation works, and it ultimately will protect customers.
I would agree with what former Chair Benham said, and I think the other entity of the FTX family was one in Japan that was also subject to pretty good regulation.
If I may, very briefly, Senator, I agree with the need to address this regulatory gap, as I mentioned, by providing the CFTC with comprehensive oversight over digital commodities. It's just taking us on a slightly different angle. I know for CCI, a lot of what we do is consumer education, Senator. So we would love to be a resource to you and your office. We have different workshops, making sure that there's scam awareness campaigns. A lot of our members do that as well, because even though we're here to talk about the need for market structure, there is a need to just educate broader consumers about the fraud and scam out there, and CCI is committed to coming up with policy solutions, Senator.
Last, to keep it short, Senator, and thank you for the question. Agree with all my panelists. Look, this isn't difficult. There are long-standing safeguards in place to protect retail customers. The CFTC and NFA have adopted them over the years with regard to derivatives. Those should be applied also to the digital commodity markets to protect retail customers, safeguarding customer funds, market practice rules, business conduct rules, disclosures. There's a whole litany of them. And I think that it's extremely important that this committee look to those time-tested requirements and safeguards, and they go a long way to accomplishing what we're trying to do, and that's protect retail customers with regard to digital commodities.
Thank you, Chairman.